this is something else. I think Karoline Leavitt thought that she was owning a reporter by posting these texts, but really it just proves how immature she is. And then I'll show you what went on in a Trump-Zelensky meeting that is really frightening, with Trump losing it at Zelensky, not Putin. I didn't misspeak. At Zelensky, he's losing it. But first, Karoline Leavitt shares hostile text messages. This is all sort of on the topic of Ukraine, and we'll talk about two different foreign policy subjects in this segment, but with far-left hack reporter, as she described him. And look at this. Date, I guess, is the last name of the HuffPost reporter. Leavitt posts these texts as if to say, I'm dunking on this reporter. SV Date texted her to get a comment, which was about the historical significance of the Trump administration, announcing that the next summit with Putin, which even having another summit before he's conceded on anything is wild, but the next summit with Putin is going to happen in Budapest. And so Date, the reporter, writes to Leavitt to inquire, like journalists do, was there a consideration of why maybe did Putin suggest that location? There's some historical significance. Is the president aware, the text reads, of the significance of Budapest? In 1994, Russia promised in Budapest not to invade Ukraine if it gave up the nuclear weapons it inherited when the Soviet Union dissolved. Does he not see why Ukraine might object to that site, the site of a previous failed summit and promise? Who suggested Budapest? Thanks. A totally normal. And in response, Leavitt said, your mom did. So the reporter said, is this funny to you? And Leavitt says, it's funny to me that you actually consider yourself a journal. Well, you are a far-left hack who nobody takes seriously, including your colleagues in the media. They just don't tell you that to your face. Stop texting me your disingenuous, biased, and bullshit questions.
What a stupid question.
And then she posted that, thinking she had nailed it, saying, for context, SV Date of the Huffington Post is not a journalist interested in the facts. He's a left-wing hack who has consistently attacked President Trump for years and constantly bombards my phone with Democrat talking points. Just take a look at Date's feed. It reads like an anti-Trump personal diary. Here's my full response to his inquiry. Activists who masquerade as real reporters do a disservice to the profession. Now, wait, the last text to Joe Biden before 2 weeks? Oh, the last question was about, does Trump know that he was president on January 6, 2021? Because he posted something blaming Biden for the FBI's behavior then. But however she feels about this journalist, the question was totally legitimate. Who suggested that? Because that would be interesting at the very least. And then to say your mom did, and then to turn around and go see the journalist is so unserious. This is not a serious reporter. Well, you're the one who said your mom did, and then went on to attack the journalist personally about a perfectly reasonable question. I know nothing about this Date reporter, but we know how these journalists get characterized for any negative coverage of Trump. And meanwhile, as Leavitt's making jokes of this subject, Trump is back to berating Zelensky like he did way back when in the Oval Office. Trump reportedly berated Zelensky in closed-door shouting match, warned Ukrainian leader Putin will destroy you. He is the most, on foreign policy, bipolar-type individual in the, not technically, I'm saying, up and down, left and right, all over the place in handling these issues. Where he was we just covered in the main show, a few weeks ago, saying, actually, I just learned about the issue, and I think that Ukraine can take back all the land that Russia took from them and win this thing with the support of the EU. And now you have this. The meeting between the U.S. and Ukrainian president descended many times into a shouting match, with Trump cursing all the time, people familiar with the matter said. And then screaming at Zelensky that he needs to give Putin what he wants. According to a European official with knowledge of the meeting, Trump told Zelensky that Putin had told him the conflict was a special operation, not even a war. So if you're not familiar with that, that's like, I don't even know if Russian propagandists consistently say that anymore. That's like the most deep cut Russian lie about this war. imaginable, where Putin at the beginning was like, no, this is just a special operation. And then he shifted the explanation like 100 times, proving that there's not actually a justified reason. But Trump goes, oh, it's not even a war, it's a special operation, according to Putin. It's sick and scary that he swung all the way back to just being fully in Putin's pocket. The official said that Trump told Zelensky he was losing the war right after he said Ukraine could win, warning if Putin wants it, he will destroy you. Okay, so just to kind of fill you in, Putin does want it. He does want to destroy Ukraine. He does want to destroy Zelensky. And he's failed. And even the much feared and much devastating Russian offensive that most recently is taking place has failed once again. You have this from The Economist. Russia's latest big Ukraine offensive gains next to nothing again. Hundreds of thousands of Putin's troops are losing their lives for barely any land. And so after claiming that he had learned about the conflict and that's why he was finally more pro-Ukrainian, Trump swung and is perpetuating these false narratives about how they should just give up. There's not even a point to it because they can't win. And winning is kind of a weird, becomes just a definitional debate, but can't defend themselves as long as it takes for a fair and lasting peace agreement, including security guarantees, manifest. That's the real, when I say win, what I mean. None of this is winning. This is all unnecessary and a huge global loss, all caused by Putin's regime. And I talked about Trump's handling of China, how hot and cold he was. You remember this? But imagine on their end, Trump's like, I love you, Xi Jinping, over and over again. And you're like, what the heck? It's like a little dog humping my leg. And then we're going with it. Then the dog crawls up and bites you. And then you're like, what the heck? You bit me. So you throw the dog off of you. And then it starts humping your leg again. You're like, what? And then it starts biting you while it's humping your leg. What is happening? That's the scenario here. Trump's like, I love you, I hate you. I love you, I hate you. High tariffs, low tariffs. High tariffs, low tariffs. I want to talk. Cancel meeting.
Snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap.
You have no idea the physical toll that 3 changes in trade policy has on the man. And what's interesting there, that was talking about Trump has caused a bunch of instability economically because of him being all over the place and erratic in his policy with China. But as I explained before, that part of the clip, underlying, there's a lot of reasons to be really combative with China. Trump's just going about it in a horrible and economically illiterate way. But they're more of an adversary. So in that sense, you can be more understanding, however incoherent, with Trump's actions. It's triple times outrageous when you're being that erratic with our ally who's being invaded. But he has that same, I love you, Zelensky. No, I don't. Oh, I love Putin. No, I don't. We're going to really make sure Ukraine wins this. Now we're not. And now he's screaming at Zelensky saying, just give Putin the stuff and call it quits. But then he gets asked and he says this.
Mr. President, on the war that you haven't solved yet, the Ukraine-Russia situation, have you now locked in a meeting? And can you explain, just a few weeks ago at UNGA, you said that Ukraine could possibly win the war and
well, they could.
Territory, but now
they could still win it. I don't think they will, but they could still win it. Mm-hmm. I never said they would win it. I said they could win. Anything can happen. You know, war is a very strange thing.
So think about how just disheartening it is. And I've seen and talked to folks in Ukraine watching this. They're kind of used to it now, but it's so confusing when he's really, it takes one phone call with Putin for his entire foreign policy on Ukraine to 180 again. And for him to go from, all right, now we're going to stand with Ukraine to this.
Unbelievable. It's a bloodbath. It's the worst since the Second World War, the worst number of people. And, you know, it doesn't affect us in any way. We don't pay anything because now they pay us for the weapons that they get.
Doesn't affect us in any way. Give Putin the regions that he wants. That'll create a lasting peace. We don't want to facilitate any strong security guarantees. And so as that's spiraling in a very chaotic direction. Trump just did a whole victory tour saying he had peace in the Middle East. And the concern from a lot of people was, is he going to actually have the attention span and the dedication to this to oversee the implementation of an actual lasting peace? And the very things we're afraid of happening have already happened when it comes to the Israel-Hamas ceasefire. New York Times report, Israel on Sunday launched its heaviest wave of attacks on Gaza since a fragile ceasefire took hold a week ago. We already reported on the Hamas executions within Gaza. Now, as I just read to you, you have these large-scale strikes happening by Israel, and the ceasefire's fallen apart. And will it then come back together? The reporting says that both sides are saying, well, we're going to recommit ourselves. But none of the rhetoric we're hearing out of the Trump administration is giving me much peace of mind on this. Listen to J.D. Vance.
Well, look, it's going to be complicated. I mean, the best case scenario, meaning if this thing absolutely produces that sustainable long-term peace that the president and I hope that it will, there are going to be fits and starts. There are going to be, Hamas is going to fire on Israel. Israel's going to have to respond, of course. There are going to be moments where you have people within Gaza where you're not quite sure what they're actually doing. So we think that it has the best chance for a sustainable peace. But even if it does that...
So as of now, it's collapsed. And I think while there's a lot outside of the U.S. president's control, a part of if it ultimately completely descends into a permanent collapse of the deal that you'll have to point to is that it really is clear Trump is prioritizing the PR, is probably just more interested in taking that victory lap. And once he's done it, it's kind of like, all right, cool, move on. But it's going to take a lot more than that to see lasting peace. It's not just about nice, fun press conferences where people say, Nobel Peace Prize, Nobel Peace Prize, Nobel Peace Prize over and over again. But again, I hope that it does, the ceasefire goes back into place and this doesn't completely descend out of control, but already devastating what's taken place. Then back to Ukraine, you have Zelensky saying this.
I don't understand why the leader of the country, which has the biggest territory in the world, they need some more kilometers. That's why I think that this war is not about the land and not about territories for him. It's about our sovereignty and about our independence. And he can get it, how to get different instruments. Territories, one of the instruments. That's about it. On the battlefield, he's not winning. That's why he really escalates air strikes. And you are right, he using missiles and drones on our...
So he can't respond directly to what happened in the meeting, obviously, because he would inflame Trump more. But that was a pretty direct rebuke of the argument now Trump's touting, which is just a Russian propagandist argument, which is this is just about a few kilometers of land. Just hand it over and we'll have peace. Because what you just heard Zelensky say was Russia already has the largest geographical country in the world. Well, they need a few more kilometers of Ukraine? That's not what this is about. This is about the independence of Ukraine being a direct ideological slight to Putin's distorted ideology. This is about something so much deeper than just some land. And so in understanding that, you understand the solution is not just handing over some land. Because it won't stop there. As the initial invasion showed, Putin doesn't just want the eastern regions. And all that Trump's suggestion would do is maybe delay temporarily, but not stop, probably worsen the long-term bloodshed. So that's frightening. Leavitt acting like a child, Trump spiraling out of control, and just being right back to aligned with Putin. And you can't really know. I guess it's the phone call, but what caused all of this? I don't know.